Welcome to the A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal podcast, where each week I, Dr. Mal, share life lessons and motivation to kickstart your Monday. Whether you're starting your day or winding down, join me or me and my future guest for a burst of positivity and a fresh perspective. Let's make Mondays meaningful together.
Greetings and happy Monday, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mallory D. McCoy, and welcome to this week's episode of A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal. As always, may this broadcast bring you what you need in the present moment. May my light exude positivity and kindness, and may my love be extended to all who could use a little extra. Ashe. Let's seize the moment. Well, happy 2026, everyone. I hope that your Gregorian New Year has started off fantastic. Mine is just absolutely perfect. For my background, I did not decide to use an artificial background, and this is actually a portrait that is in the Airbnb that I'm renting, and it's beautiful. So I just decided to use it as my background for those of you who are watching my podcast instead of listening to my podcast. You're getting the inside look in my living space. But today's show is titled The Move Was the Medicine. And for my new format, I just want to get straight to it. No fluff at the beginning, no long runway today and in the future, because it's the messaging that's important. So after what seemed like the most tumultuous year my whole entire life up to this point, I moved to Mexico at the end of last year, not for the aesthetic of Mexico and not to run away from anything, although that is my trauma response. I am a flighter by nature, but yeah, not for any of those things. In fact, I answered why I moved to Mexico on the fall edition of Ask Dr. Mal. So if you're interested, you can go back and check out that podcast because I answer a lot of questions or preliminary questions there. But this episode is to expand out because that episode was recorded before I actually set foot in Mexico and got to live here. And I've been living here for over a month now. And so my vantage point has certainly shifted in the most beautiful way possible. So now that I'm here, I can say I moved because staying where I was stopped being medicine for my soul. It was literally hurting me to stay in an environment where I experienced hurt. For the longest time, I tried to heal in place, but there were so many things that kept reopening the wounds that I was trying to heal that my soul just felt like a big open gaping wound all the time. And I tried to regulate my nervous system inside these environments that required me to stay hyper vigilant. I was always on alert, always bracing for something to happen. On the outside, I am really good at making a lot of things look good. I'm a life path number 3 and the world is my stage and I'm the performer. I'm the main character. So I'm really good at making things look good. In fact, before the turn of the Gregorian year, I was looking at some pictures that I'd taken over the past few years, and I saw on the outside where was looking happy, but I was hurting so bad. Structures my life were built around, either through society or ones that I chose to be in and thought was safe, were literally imploding around me during that time. My marriage, my job, my relationships with family and friends, my day-to-day routine, literally everything started visibly imploding. But I was still trying to put on a front like I was okay, and I wasn't, and came to a head, and I couldn't run from it, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. And eventually, after witnessing the emotionally violent collapse, my spirit was very clear and said, the move is the medicine. We're not staying. And it's not someday or after things calm down or after you move through your fears. The answer is now. The time is now. And when I first started talking about moving to Mexico, it was soon after I realized that my husband and I weren't going to be living in the same house anymore. And so I was thinking, like, Mal, this is the freest you've ever been in your entire life. If you could do anything, what would you do? And what would that be? That was really the first question that I started asking myself. And at first, it was only in my mind. And then I started asking out loud and writing it in my journal. And through my tarot and oracle cards, Spirit was like, dream bigger. Like, what you're writing down is so puny. And even one of my cards said that, like, your dreams are so puny, dream bigger. And that's not big enough. And I was like, I don't even know how to dream bigger. I don't even know what that looks like or that feels like. There's so many logistics in my mind that I had to work out. At the time that I started saying this, I didn't even have a job. I had my rental properties, but I was living way beyond my means and I didn't even know where money was going to be coming from. I didn't know, I didn't have any factor. I just knew that I was moving to Mexico. I knew it. Not I thought it, not I knew it. I know no one in Mexico. I know my ancestors are here. I know I have extended family members here, but I don't know them. So, what's my life going to look like in Mexico? Where am I going to live when I get there? What am I going to do with my son who eats the two same things for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? So, that was another thing. Like, it's easy, and I'm envious of my friends who could just be like, okay, I'm single and I can make all the decisions for myself and move how I want to move for myself. But that wasn't my story. Like, I know as his primary parent, it was not an option for me to leave him with his father. So, whatever I'm going to do, we're going to do. Like, there's no separation in that. There's so many logistics in my mind that I had to work out, or I thought I had to work out. Because let me tell you, when I came here, I didn't have everything worked out. But still, through all of this, all I kept hearing was like this voice in my head that just kept saying, take a step and trust. Take a step and trust. And when I tell you, that's when I had to dig deeper into my faith. And I kept thinking about what it looks like because it was a different type of faith than I had experienced before when I was religious, because the faith that I experienced in religion was faith in an energy outside of me only, and only relying on that energy outside of me to move my life. But the faith that I was forced to build in these situations helped me build not only faith in an energy outside of me, but also a faith in myself. After realizing that having faith in myself and having faith in energy outside of me is equally important because we co-create life together. I am God. We are all fractals of the light, of the source. So yeah, me too. I am too. We all are. So at some point in this journey, it was in like mid last summer when I was moving out of my house. I remember the day because I was sweeping an empty space. I spoke to one of my friends, Nova, who has made living outside of the US a reality for her and her family. She was simply using her resources to donate to Bell's Garden. As you know, my business I started in Kansas City and was really worried about leaving because BG was born out of need, and my business bestie and I were just getting into doing some real important work for Black girls in Kansas City. So I called her to thank her for her donation. She donated money so that 5 girls could attend our camp that we were holding for free. But then we had a long conversation about moving, and I just want to say publicly that she was the angel that I needed at that moment because I was actually going to back out of my plan to move to Mexico. But not only did she encourage me to move forward with that plan, but she also encouraged me to tell everybody about it. And I mean, everybody. And so I did. I started telling everybody because one of the things that I've learned in my walk is that source energy, the all that is, gives you messages about how you need to move, not just to you, but also through people. I receive a lot of messages in how I need to move through other people. And so that was one message that I received from another fractal flight that I took and I let it move with me. Me moving to Mexico became a part of every conversation that I was a part of. And most people were just happy, but somewhat curious about what I was going to do in Mexico. And the number one question I got is like, are you going to work there? Are you moving there for work? Or like, how are you going to make money? And honestly, I still didn't have all the answers. And I told them that when they asked me, but I knew it was going to happen because I had faith that it would. My faith started small and it started to grow exponentially because complete strangers were excited for me. My friend circle was also supportive, but I could tell that they didn't have the faith that I did. So they were a little bit more hesitant to celebrate. The faith that we have is our own to have. So I didn't really expect anybody to have the faith that I had in myself. So when I tell you the universe literally started collapsing and shifting things so that I could experience living in Mexico, it did. And if I could give you a visual, it was like the Tomb Raider game or movie. I can't remember which one, where the scene starts shifting and she has to keep moving to accommodate her changing circumstance. Another movie that just came into mind is one of my favorite movies, Inception, when he's traveling through different dreams and his universe starts to collapse and move into different things and he has to accommodate that. So at this point, I've been completely open about my journey on my social media pages. And of course, there's some parts I haven't been open to sharing, and simply out of respect, especially if that part of my story is intertwined with someone else's story, I'm not sharing it in a public way, but I will allude to it. I have no problem with illusion. Illusion, Allusion. So then I arrived to Mexico. And not without challenge. For the most part, it's been beautiful. But I've lived in 4 places since I've been here on November 29th. My son and I stayed on a resort for 6 days because I needed to change location and not think about other logistics, like how we're going to eat, what we're going to do. I needed to not think about those things. And I'm honestly grateful that I did that because even astrologically, it was an emotionally chaotic time. And I just needed to have fun. And I just needed to be in the sun. Those were the only 2 things I needed to focus on and have everything else laid out for me. The morning we left St. Louis, the weather forecasters predicted like a trace to 5 inches of snow. We ended up getting 6.4 inches of snow, and I had to shovel my way out of the driveway of the Airbnb that I was staying in. And then I had a rental car. I packed my son and I's stuff up in the car. Shout out to my sis for coming to assist. And then I slid all the way to Enterprise to turn the car in. Like, and then it was chaotic even at the airport because the highways were shut down. So it was just crazy. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. In that moment, though, I learned the extent of my son's capability and that he could actually drag a suitcase because the older man saw me struggling. And he said, "You better let that boy move one of those suitcases." And so Raymond took it with hesitancy, but can't argue with a masculine man. So he drugged the suitcase until there was a point where he's like, I'm tired. So anyway, we left out of gate 33. That's one of my angel numbers. Our flight wasn't delayed, nor was it full. We had a whole row to ourselves and we were able to spread out. And we made it to Cancun in 2 hours and 37 minutes. And then the adventure began because there was some unknowns even when I got to the airport. And I had 5 suitcases, mind you, 5 suitcases, 3 oversized suitcases. So I had to figure out how to maneuver those and find the shuttle and all of these things. So it was a lot. After our stay in the Riviera Maya, because that's where we stayed at a resort there, I rented a car in Playa del Carmen, which is not close to where we were. It was like 30 minutes. So I had to take a taxi to get to the rental car place. That was a gift. The taxi cab driver and I had a whole conversation through Google Translate about autism because he realized that Raymond was autistic. And so he has a child that is autistic and was able to tell me about some therapies that I could get Raymond involved into here in Mexico. Like, it was complete gift. Every step of the way, there's been gifts. And so he got us safely to Playa del Carmen. I got the rental car, and then we drove 3.5 hours to Merida, and we got to the Airbnb. We stayed in that Airbnb for 20 days, but there were some safety concerns with the structure of the home, particularly windows that didn't close properly and plumbing issues. The water didn't drain properly. So I requested to move from there, and I was able to find another Airbnb. But when we arrived okay, mind you, I moved on Christmas Day. We arrived at that Airbnb after the moving truck got a flat tire on the highway with people, mind you, the people moving us didn't speak a lick of English. And so through Google Translator, they were able to tell us we needed to find an Uber to get us there, which we had to wait 30 minutes for the Uber to get to the Airbnb. And then when I got to the Airbnb, after finding it because the address was wrong twice, I opened the door and mildew and mold hit my face. And so I got there at 12:30. I spent 10 hours cleaning that house so that me and my son could just lay our head down because I knew I wasn't going to stay there. I was on the phone with Airbnb all day. Then Airbnb finally gave me on Sunday 1 hour to find a different home. And so anyway, the next day we found this home. We moved here. I ordered another Uber XL. I explained the situation to him in Google Translate. He was so kind. I paid him a little extra and he helped me to move to this house. And this house has been beautiful, so beautiful. And it's actually something that I envisioned for my son and I to be. So we ended up where we were supposed to be. That was the universe shifting in our favor. It was chaotic as it was shifting, but we ended up exactly where we were supposed to be. And it's been beautiful. So here's what I've actually learned in real time that I wanted to say. I love Merida like down. You hear me? It is so beautiful here. Right now, the weather is perfect. It's a little bit on the cooler side at night. It's in the 60s at night. The hottest months are April and May. But this year, I'll be in another town in Mexico for 2 months. So I'll have to experience the hottest months in 2027. But I think the most lovely thing about this city is that everyone is so kind and so loving. I have many anecdotes of people being kind and loving, but even more than that, it's so safe. When Raymond's playing on the playground and he's left his phone or his hat or some other article of clothing somewhere, somebody's always brought it to me. Like, there's people always watching. It's happened on numerous occasions now, 3 times to be exact. To that point, my second point is everyone's so accepting here. I have mentioned on countless occasions that Raymond's telepathic, and people are not turned off at all or rebuking him to hell like some of his extended family members in Missouri have. They're actually really curious about his telepathy and want to know more. I've even learned from one taxi cab driver about a researcher who's famous here in Mexico for studying boys with autism and their telepathic abilities. And so people are so knowledgeable about telepathy here. And then if I mention that he's autistic, they get real protective around him and they share about family members that they have or people that they know that have autism. And it's just so beautiful to me. And he's just really so safe to be himself here. And he feels it. I've had so many people connect with me through either private message or just on my social media and just say, like, his smile is so big. Yeah, he is so happy here. He wakes up laughing and giggling. It's so beautiful. Another thing that I love about this space is that people are so very spiritual here. People actually welcome spirit in their homes with ofrendas, honorary altars for the living that has transitioned beyond this realm. It's so beautiful to know that both the living and the transition are equally honored here. And speaking of spirituality, energy moves so free here and it doesn't feel dense at all. I just don't even understand how you could be angry in such a beautiful place. And my dreams are so much more vivid here. And I'm grateful to have moved into an energy that moves because I'm an energy that moves. I'm a whole sun here. I know y'all see my glow. And another thing you've probably heard before, but it's real. The cost of living here is way cheaper than living in the States. Like everything is lower. For example, I was paying $20 an hour in the States for childcare from one son. Though I love my childcare providers in the States, but they were just bodies because my son literally just watches himself for the most part. But now I have two nannies, two. One, I pay 100 pesos an hour, and another, I pay 150 pesos an hour. And if you do the conversion, the 100 pesos is like $5.89. And then the 150 pesos is like eight something an hour. That's a gift to me. I also go to the chiropractor every week. It's 500 pesos a session. I also get physical therapy there, 400 pesos a session. I bought the package and it's beautiful. It ended up being like 333 US dollars. That's why I bought it because that's my angel number. My chiropractor, he's American, actually, he's from California. And this is the first chiropractor I've been to that cracks your ears. If you never had your ears cracked, it's the funniest sensation I've ever experienced before. I've only been able to do my laundry once, and that was when I moved into that Airbnb that had mold and mildew for a day. There's literally no places for you to do your laundry by yourself. It's just not common. So you send your laundry away or you have a laundry service come pick up your laundry and then it's done, folded, smelling good by the end of the day. They will come at like 7 o'clock in the morning and then your laundry's done by 5. And I haven't paid over 500 pesos to get my laundry done. Actually, one time I did pay over 500 pesos. That's because I had to clean all of the sheets and covers in the space that we were in, but it's all folded and it smells so good. Everything smells good. So that's exciting. Personally, when I moved here, I knew that this was a space where people speak mostly Spanish. There's few people that speak English here. Um, but I found that it's really important that you learn a little more than conversational Spanish when you move into areas where the locals live, especially if you have emergency situation. For the Airbnb mishaps that I had, I wish I would have known a little more Spanish. Thankfully, I'm divinely guided and protected, so I was safe the whole time, but it would have helped tremendously had I known a little bit more Spanish. And I will also say that the cost of the Airbnb homes that are available could be cheaper, but I think the prices are upped a lot because gentrification is also happening here. And gentrification in the way like Americans are moving into this space because they know how good it is. And not just Americans, Canadians and all the like. There's many people moving here in droves. It's like 1 million people in Merida, but they're driving the prices up and the locals are having a tough time keeping up with the driving up of prices. And understandably why. When I tell you like the cost of living is cheaper. So one way to counteract that is to make sure when you move into somebody else's space, you're not moving to take over or you're not moving to conquer, you're moving to help. So I love like in some of the groups that I'm in, there are ways to help the local community. And that's so important. One of the major highlights for me moving in this space is that my nervous system has slowed all the way down. The recalibration of my nervous system should be studied. It really should. There's some days where I'm sitting around and I'm like, this is it. And even my son, he just loves days where he gets to ride a scooter back and forth with all the windows open and his music on Alexa blasting. And when I try to get him dressed to go somewhere, he refuses. Like, he doesn't want to. Another thing I'd like to point out, since I moved here during such a celebratory time, And the Mexicans celebrate with cohetes, which are fireworks. There have been some nights that have been louder than others, but my body hasn't braced for danger because I 100% know that none of these booms are gunshots. They don't rock like that here. They pride themselves on being a safe city. And because everybody desires safety here, the energy is safe. Like being safe is a part of their lifestyle. And if you don't have an energy of safety, their policia don't play. Like in the parks, I've seen the National Guard out. Like safety is serious here. And that's how it should be all over the world, but especially in the United States, right? Living here has returned me to my breath. My days are slow enough to feel every part of my body. And speaking of slow, everything's so slow down here. It takes a while to acclimate to the slow. I'm working on it as we speak, and I'm getting better every day. This move reminded my body of what quiet actually feels like, not silence, but ease. Again, I'm no longer bracing for something to happen. The biggest change I've noticed in myself is that I've given myself permission to take naps. When I first got here and people were like, I'm about to take a nap, I was like, I'm never going to take a nap. And then on December 21st, when my body started detoxing due to a bacteria I didn't realize that I had in my belly, I had no choice but to take a nap. And I don't know what I ever thought would happen if I took a nap while my son was in my presence without another adult, but the nap that I had to take was like 18 hours because my body said, "Sit down over there." And aside from a plate full of sugar on his potatoes, when I woke up, he was fine. And I've taken some more naps after that, and everything's been fine. I just never experienced this level of emotional and physical safety in my whole entire life. My whole entire life. I've cried a few days thinking about that. I've never been safe before, but I'm safe here. And I'm creating the safety. I'm cultivating the safety, and the space is cultivating the safety, and the environment is cultivating the safety. And I had faith to choose that for myself. And so I'm just so grateful. I recently became aware to the fact that this is my first time in my real adult life that I've made decisions solely on my own. To know that I'm divinely guided and protected has made it incredibly easier than it sounds, but it hasn't been without challenge. Yet I'm moving through it all, and I'm carried when I can't move through it. And I know that I'm never alone, and that's the most comforting thing to know. I don't feel like I'm alone or not alone. I know I'm not alone. So I say all that to say healing doesn't always come from fixing. Sometimes it comes from relocating your life into alignment. And sometimes the healing isn't another book, another prayer, another conversation, another round of understanding or pseudo understanding, another something to do. Sometimes healing is the distance. Sometimes it's new air. Sometimes it's letting your body experience safety long enough for you to believe it and long enough for you to believe you. So I want to say this next part, and I want to say it gentle and clear. Your move doesn't have to be an international move. Mine was international, but yours doesn't have to be. Your move might be leaving a job that drains you. Your move might be changing how you show up in a relationship or changing the relationship you have with someone else. To the left, to the left. Your move might be moving your body differently or moving your body at all. Your move might be saying no where you used to negotiate. Your move might be choosing rest without explanation. Rest needs no explanation. When your body tells you need to rest, rest. Or your move might be just finally choosing yourself without asking anybody's permission to do so. But whatever your move is, if your soul is asking for it, that's because it probably is the medicine for your healing. And it's not because it's easy, but it's because it's more aligned to what you need and what your soul needs. So I'll leave you with this. Where's your body asking you to move? not out of fear, but toward freedom. And what might happen if you trusted that movement instead of questioning it? And also, if you could have anything you want in this life, what would you want? Think about it, center that, and create actions toward it, small actions to let the universe know that's actually what you want, and watch the universe bend to your favor. You are the co-creator and architect. I know y'all hear this beautiful nature sounds around me. Like this is my life. This is what I said I wanted. And the universe bent to my will. The universe moved in my favor. So, as always, thank you for spending time with me. If this episode resonates with you, sit with it. You don't have to rush in anything, but just notice what is stirring in your mind and your heart and your spirit. And remember, you don't have to force healing. Sometimes you just have to follow it. That feeling of, it feels good to do this. So I'll see you in 2 weeks for another Monday Moment with Dr. Mal. But until then, love and peace to all of you. Have the best week.
Thank you for tuning in for a Monday Moment with Dr. Mal, now proudly a part of the Alive Podcast Network. You can find this show on the Live Podcast Network website and app, and you can find this podcast streaming across your favorite podcast streaming platforms. If you love to have the visual, you can tune into my YouTube channel, When Mallory Lives, to see this show and catch up on all my shows from the beginning.